I would like to call the January 2026 City Council meeting to order at 7 p.m. If you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have Counselor Ryuta is out tonight. Everybody else is here. Student Rep Tyler is home sick. Looking at the agenda tonight. Looking for approval of the agenda or any changes.
Mr. Mayor,
Council President Miller.
I'd like to suggest the council adopt a addition to the agenda, and that is a discussion about trees at JP Weston first. Yes, about trees. Yeah.
Discussion about trees at the bottom of JP West. There's some zone code zone stuff. As number 9. End of the meeting.
Yeah, that
Okay.
works. Thank you.
So we have agenda addition number 9, a discussion about trees. Do we have a motion to approve? Counselor Haugen, motion to approve at meeting is amended. Any second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Holmes. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. This is placed on agenda where public is invited to speak to council regarding any matter not on the agenda and not scheduled for public hearing. Members of the public addressing council are requested to give their name and city of residence. Please try not to repeat questions to allow for more speakers. Speakers are to limit their testimony to 5 minutes, as we're limited to 30 minutes total. I do have one, Mrs. Higas, if you'd like to come on down.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Alicia Higas, and I'm a resident of Scappoose. I'm submitting this written public comment regarding the general fund based on the city's December fiscal year 2025-2026 financial report included in tonight's city council meeting packet. That report shows that partway through the fiscal year, the general fund is already operating at a negative retained earnings position of approximately $736,000. In other words, current expenditures are exceeding current revenues, and the difference is being covered by fund balance. This directly aligns with the concern raised by a counselor at the previous meeting that the city appears to be over budget by roughly $1 million year after year. What is most concerning is not only the number itself, but the absence of a clear on-the-record accounting. When this question was raised publicly, the response was that the city manager could explain it later, privately. That is not appropriate for general fund finances. These are public dollars, and residents deserve to understand how they are being managed. Explanations for recurring operating shortfalls should be provided openly and on the record, not behind the scenes. It is also important to clarify what this overspending is not attributed to. The expense of newly hired police officers was already accounted for in the adopted budget. The police department's own activity report shows only a modest increase in calls for service, with several enforcement categories declining. Service volume does not explain persistent cost escalation. Police, nevertheless, remain the single largest general fund expense, which raises a related and unresolved transparency issue that directly affects budget oversight. Last year, I submitted a public records request for employee and police employment contracts. The city provided several contracts, but refused to release the employment contracts for Police Chief Llewellyn and former Chief Lugal. No legal explanation was provided, and no exemption was cited that would justify withholding compensation agreements for public employees. That selective refusal is concerning from a budgetary standpoint. Chief Lugal has significantly more law enforcement experience, yet the city has chosen not to allow the public to compare compensation structures between successive police chiefs. Without transparency, the public cannot evaluate whether compensation is reasonable, consistent, or aligned with experience and performance. I previously raised this issue during a city council meeting and received no response. This matters because personnel costs are ongoing obligations, not one-time expenses. If compensation includes enhanced pay, severance provisions, incentives, or special terms, those provisions represent long-term financial risk to the city, particularly if disciplinary or legal issues arise. Those risks ultimately fall on the general fund and on taxpayers. Planning and community development also represent a significant and growing general fund expense. Yet the activity described in the meeting packet reflects long-term planning and consultant-driven work that does not generate offsetting revenue. Together, police and planning account for the majority of general fund operating costs, yet the city has not provided a clear public explanation of where the recurring overage is occurring. While property tax limitations are a known and longstanding constraint, they have been identified in city budgets for years and do not explain the recurring operating overruns without a clear public accounting of spending decisions. Against this backdrop, the city has discussed proposing a bond and asking the community to contribute additional money to fill this gap. I do not support asking the community for more money before the city demonstrates that it can manage its existing budget within its means. Bonds and levies should follow transparency, discipline, and accountability, not replace them. Asking residents to shoulder additional financial burden while recurring operating shortfalls remain unexplained and while key compensation information is withheld undermines public trust. Budgets are not merely accounting documents, they are accountability documents. When operating shortfalls become recurring, explanation must occur in public with enough clarity for residents and counselors alike to understand what is driving the gap before any request is made to taxpayers. I am not asking for speculation. I am asking for basic fiscal accountability, including equal disclosure of employment contracts, clear justification for compensation levels, and a public on-the-record explanation of recurring general fund overruns. Demonstrated budget discipline before any bond or levy is proposed to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
for Alicia, I'd like to point out that I did respond to you on June 13th regarding employment contracts and how that generally works. You might want to check your inbox June 13th.
You said that he was hired by the city and that, but that doesn't justify a legal reason of why his contracts are not being shared.
My email explains which employees have contracts and which employees do not have contracts.
There's still legally, you're supposed to, if requested of what their pay is, it's supposed to be disclosed. I got other police chiefs pay, at least 2 others. So why those 2 aren't being shared is unclear.
Okay, there's no contracts though, is what I'm telling you.
Okay, but I'm still asking to find out how much they are being paid.
Okay,
And that was refused.
be sure to request the correct documents. If you request a contract and they don't have a contract, there's no contract to give you.
I'm pretty sure the document explained for itself, and if the city didn't understand, I'm sure that they would have reached out. In my opinion, it was a denial. I got other police chiefs pay, and several employees pay that probably don't have a contract like you say, but I still got their job description and what their salary was.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I think that that's a basic expectation.
All right, thank you. Susan, did we have anybody online? Any more public comment? Okay. With that, we'll close public comment. We're on to consent agenda. Today, we're looking at the January 2026 City Council meeting minutes. Looking at a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Councilor Holmes, motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. Any seconds?
Second.
Second by Council President Miller. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries. On to old business. Last meeting, we read ordinance number 924, an ordinance approving annexation of property to the city of Scappoose, amending the zoning map and minor partition. We had a public hearing And we had a first and a second to approve. A motion to adopt ordinance 924, therefore approving annexation of property to the city of Scappoose, amending the zoning map and minor partition. Any more discussion? Anything to add? Okay, seeing none, we will vote. All those in favor?
I do have a
Yes,
question for
Counselor
staff.
Santiago.
Just wanted to, for the record, to confirm that the improvement, sidewalks, trees and all that is going to be part of the fully applicant funded. Is that
Correct.
right? I
Yeah,
just wanted to confirm that.
correct.
And nothing has changed between now and the last meeting.
No.
you.
Seeing no more discussion, all those in favor state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, for the record, I'm going to abstain from that vote because I know the individuals involved. In fact, Marcia Garver used to work for the police department years and years ago.
We'll have enough on the vote. There we go. Thank you. On to new business. Exciting, number 3, Chapman Landing Disc Golf. Public Works Director Dave Suka with the staff report.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, good evening. Give us a second here just to get in place. So for quick context, the city acquired Chapman Landing, as mentioned in the staff report in 2019. Ever since then, our public works crews have been working down there to clean it up, make it more user-friendly, safer facility, open up some real estate of the underbrush, make for picnicking, hopefully kayaking. And it's always been kind of in the back of our mind to do something with disc golf. And when the LGGP grant was announced for Grabhorn, I was contacted by Mr. Tomeno. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. About an opportunity of wanting to help with the design of that. And upon that discussion, I also mentioned the Chapman Landing potential and asked if they would be interested in getting involved in that project. So with that tonight, I'm joined by Jesse Tomeno and Joe Coulter, who can run through their history. But they're very passionate about disc golf and have designed a course for us down there that I think is small, well fitted to the property, and yet challenging enough for players to be entertained to come want to do it. So with that, I will hand it over.
Thank you, Dave. So yeah, just to give a little background on our history and why we feel able to do this. We designed a disc golf course in Warren called The Roots on the former St. Helens Golf Club property. It's a private course, so a little different in scope, but we have the numbers that show just how many rounds have been played out there, how many people are using the property.
And in the past 9 months, it's been open in April, we've had over 10,000 recreational hours spent on the course. That course for about 5 years was run down and no one was using it. And now we're seeing over 10,000 hours. We're seeing unique players from just the St. Helens, Scappoose, and Portland metro area, just over 1,500 playing that, playing multiple times. And then according to the Roots front desk, so all those stats are from a app called UDisc, and they account for about 30% of all disc golf. According to the Roots front desk, there have been over 10,000 rounds since opening months ago. And this is a pay to play, but just besides being a disc golf course, they've now started doing yoga clubs, cross country meets, and school outings happening weekly for the local schools in the area. And so it's been a tremendous positive impact on the Columbia County community.
And we're obviously very passionate about disc golf, but one of the best things about it is how accessible it is. You need one Frisbee that you can get for $10 to $15 and a ride to the course. And that's really all you need to play. And people as young as 3 and 4 years old up to 90, if you can walk around a park, you can play disc golf. So just having something that accessible, this course would be very family friendly, whereas the course in Warren is a big walk and it's aimed more at passionate regular players. This course at Chapman's Landing would be short, accessible, and able for families to play in a very short period of time.
Question.
Yes, Counselor Santiago.
I do have a question. For those who are not familiar with Frisbee or golf frisbee. Is it an actual frisbee? Because it says disc. So I've heard that it could be a heavyweight type of disc. So can you explain what type of disc you're talking
Certainly.
about?
They're about the same weight as a normal frisbee, but they're smaller, so they are denser and they have a more beveled edge. You're able to throw them much, much farther and faster. So in course design, one of our priorities is to make sure that the course is very safe for all of the players, as well as any other park goers. And we've kept this away, make sure that we're not throwing at any other holes. There's not really any chance of somebody getting hit without, warning or seeing something.
Yeah, so our first priority when we design a course is safety for those that play and for those that also utilize the park for other recreational purposes. This one avoids going to the left where there's benches and park sitting and where I've seen people fish, where I have fished before. And then it goes down south towards Portland. And in the process, working with Dave, we discovered that this course also helps them with removing invasive species. And so we're kind of utilizing that. And then it just gives this park a purpose. Looking at the property, I can see that it's been overgrown from not being maintained all the time. We're having humans there to maintain it. And this would just give it that unique and awesome experience to play right by the Columbia River. So I can tell it's a special place.
Can I ask a question regarding the safety since you mentioned it? What are you guys, meaning just the way you're directing people to throw versus sign, are you consider signage and things that maybe that's.
For non-players, there should be a sign along the lines of watch out flying discs. You're entering a disc golf course area, be aware. But yes, the actual routing of the course protects the holes from each other.
Typically, how long is a hole?
On this course, we're looking at 150 to 280 feet.
On the course we designed, there's one that's over 1,000. This is definitely a beginner friendly. Every hole you can see. And so if you're throwing, you'll see the next hole or people ahead of you. There's not a lot of blind shots.
Should be able to see you.
But it's still interesting enough that experienced players will also want to play it.
And then one thing that disc golf does really well is this Throw Green initiative. So 4 times a year, the biggest one is definitely on Earth Day. But they participate with local communities to pick up the most trash. If you pick up the most trash on your course, which some people want to win, Portland's never been close because we keep our courses clean. Disc golfers, my group, we actually carry a trash bag because we see trash, we pick it up. And so there's a lot of opportunities with this Throw Green initiative through the PDGA for volunteer days, creating walking trails, building benches, etc., so that this park just isn't a disc golf course, but is used by everybody and is welcomed.
So, how are players scheduled?
It is just open play.
Okay, so first come, first served, and,
Yep.
and there's a cooperative arrangement. You have people just queue in.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the 4th most popular course in the nation is Pier Park in Portland. And you will see over 20 groups just lined up waiting to tee off on a Saturday. That's really nice.
How many do you usually have in a group? Can you do 4 that you, just
We try and
basically
keep it to 4 or 5, just like golf. Any more than that, and you should really split into multiple groups. But there are some people that, if the course is empty, will play in a giant group.
Do we have time? I mean, is there something here we can do with Earth Day? Do we have time to coordinate
I
anything?
don't know that we would be ready by this Earth Day next year for sure. Construction of the course would more than likely be during the summer months. There's a caveat to the property. During the spring months, half of it goes underwater. And so this facility will be somewhat seasonal. The baskets will be in place during the summer months, but in the winter, when the floodwaters rise, we'll go remove the infrastructure of that to allow the water and debris to pass through the property as it currently does.
Based on what you see right now, how much land removal, invasive species removal would you need to do this now? Is it
At this point, actually very
Pretty
little.
open.
Public Works has already done most of the work and they've designed the course around way that the brush is. Some of the brush barriers actually provide benefit to it, to barrier for safety and challenge of play. So we just have a few more areas that we just need to do some minor clearing. Honestly, it's pretty much ready to go, I think, is what we determined in walking it. So
So there, some of them will be permanent baskets.
nothing will be
Nothing
permanent.
permanent.
It is in a waterway. I mean, that is an active river channel. And so there are criteria that we have to follow, that you can't have any permanent structures. We're talking about creating some concrete pads that are portable that we could lift with our backhoe or something and put in place, or move if we want to change the course, so that there's always some variation to it. Maybe year after year, you make some minor changes so that it's not always the same thing. So we're looking at different ways to keep it somewhat fluid.
And you label the tee off spot. You put some stuff there to kind of show you where to
A
start.
sign with a rudimentary map and the distance generally. And just to speak real quick to the infrastructure, disc golf is not only affordable for players, but also to install. They've said some small concrete pads, maybe 4 feet by 6 feet. It would need 9 of those, and then 9 of the actual baskets, the targets, which brand new are $450 each maybe. So we're looking at $5,000 or $6,000 plus some volunteer labor to make this happen.
And parking down there, but we have enough. I mean,
Yeah, there's the parking area that we've somewhat created with where the old gate was to it. We put the barriers in there. You can get a half a dozen cars easily in for that. There is shoulder parking. We're likely gonna add a little more shoulder rock anyways, after the county did some paving. There's kind of an abrupt edge along there that we could soften that. And then people are always can walk in from the trailhead. So parking at this point is not a concern.
Dave, you said seasonal. Can you specify exactly what seasons it would be available?
Yeah, so in the spring, and actually one time so far this winter, when we had the flooding a couple of months ago, the water actually does come up. So the lower area that, when we go back to the design, the lower half of it potentially can be underwater. So I'm imagining somewhere between closing it now into, say, June. So there'd be a small window there where, due to the floodwaters, we would close it. But through typical winter, like right now, it would be playable. It's just when the spring snow melt and rains come, that's when the sluice starts to rise.
Mr. Mayor, I was particularly excited to see this in the packet and appreciate you all bringing this opportunity forward and Dave working with them. I've walked by this area of Chapman Landing many times, and there isn't a whole lot, I think, that we could otherwise be doing with this space. The only other idea I thought was maybe like a BMX dirt track or something like that, right? For the kids to ride through the trees. So I think it's a great utilization of space that's otherwise challenging. And I did live through in St. John's the transformation of Pier Park to include it. And it really did. It changed how people engaged with that space, which is an amazing space. And so hopefully it can bring more people to Chapman too. So I'm really excited about this. And thank you all.
I'm hoping it does kind of kick us off to do a lot more down there. You know, you start doing a lot of different things with docks and the fishing. Are we able to then also bring in a few more picnic tables and spots kind of outside of the golf, or when they come, they're bringing kids and they want to stop and eat?
Yeah, we can
Supplement.
put in some rest benches down there. We've got some ways to do that in a portable manner. The other thing that we've been working on is clearing out some of the debris around some of the old pilings and things. And we actually have an area now identified for a kayak launch. It is in the middle of the course. We've talked about this, as player etiquette is usually pretty good. If they saw somebody coming through with a couple of kayaks, they'd pause play, let the people launch and go. Because we are trying to find more uses for that property. And kayaks have been one from day one of the property, be a desired amenity for down there. So
Are you clearing? Because it is real mucky if you're at the wrong tide to get your kayak out there. But are you doing anything to help people get their kayak out there?
yeah, there's some areas that had rotten pilings that we've cleaned up and removed. There was old wire cables and things from the old log banding that we've removed all of that. And so there is one spot now that's a beach. When the water's up, it's grass beach, and then there's about a 3-foot drop you can get down on the sand and you can launch and get out of that. So right now it is kayak friendly.
There's a lot of bald eagles right in there. Great area.
Here, I have one more question. What about the restrooms? Are there porta potties?
There is a porta potty, yes, right
Is there-
up at the turnaround. We have a porta potty. It's secured in with some big concrete blocks. Unfortunately, with vandalism about a year and a half ago, porta potty ended up in the river upside down. And so since then, we've had to get really creative about how we anchor it, but we haven't had any issues. We do have security camera on the facility now. That's helped detour a lot of vandalism and things. So
If it gets busier, do we plan to put another one or?
if it's ever an issue where that one's overloaded, we can either add more or have a more frequent service.
Yeah, double thumbs up over here. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we're constantly looking for grants. I mean, does it take a lot with all those pilings and stuff to get in and remove them? Or would it take a lot of core?
Right now, it's been mostly just public works labor when we have the time to work down there. And some of our off season, early summer, we're doing street work. Late summer is when we get an opportunity to go down and the water's low and can just kind of do more clearing. So it's just been fill-in work, for lack of better terms. We continually improve it, add more benches and more tables. We've always sent the benches, I hate to say this, that get a little more beat up here on the mainland parks. Send those down there because that has been the most prone area to the vandalism. So we don't put the premium stuff down there. But as more people go and this will draw them, and we can raise that level of service down there too, because there'll be more eyes on it, preventing people from doing the things they shouldn't be doing. So.
And we will be focusing more on grab horn here eventually, I would assume.
The other thing that we're gonna stress, I think more than Colleen on this, he got to see it for the first time, is the Christmas ships down there are amazing.
Wow.
So we've been working to try to get people down there, and I think we've been hovering around 200 to 300 down there on the Christmas ship nights. It's a
Wow.
really special opportunity at Chapel Landing as well. So things are growing. It is definitely a growing facility slowly.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Yes.
we weren't looking for any formal action, just wanted a general consensus on support and this, everybody.
Yeah, I'm supportive, especially with all the numbers that he's kind of given out and how much. If it's a lot more, you'll come to us, but
I think we can build this for sub 10,000 for sure, which when you think of the greater good, that's good bang for the buck. So
it's a great start and grow from there.
And for the record, you have it already in part of the budget, right?
we is in the staff report, there's $100,000 identified for general improvements. And we would be using money on that.
Great, thank you.
Dave, I have a question. Do we have anything else planned so far for that 100,000 for this year?
Yeah, we've actually been in a savings mode right now because as you know, we're going to be, we were officially successful now in the LGGP for the grab horn and $89,900 for ADA improvements to the playground at Veterans Park. So both of those projects are going to be moving forward. So we've been kind of in a saving pattern to get money just to make sure we can afford to do both of those, but since they're grant
Okay.
funded things, we don't want to lose those opportunities.
And that 100,000 is fiscal year, correct? Not calendar year?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And is this potentially UDisc app friendly? I mean, will you be able to put I just had a little note there.
Yes.
Yeah.
The answer to that question is yes. You can add it to UDisc so that any disc golf or anyone that has the app can use it.
Build my handicap. Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I was able to actually design and build a course in Stanton while I was there for similar use in a park that was by a river. And you don't get gobs of crowds using it, but you get more use, and it is a really nice benefit. All the feedback I ever got was really positive. Safety wise, I never really had people be disrespectful, cause any issues. Usually people visiting the park are pretty open and aware what's going on. And those throwing usually know if somebody's in the way, they're not gonna go chuck the disc at them usually. So, I mean, I'm sure there are always exceptions, but in the 4 years we had that, it was really just more of a positive than anything.
Great. Thank you. Moving on, number 4, are we going to do the ordinance?
Yeah, I did talk to Nancy. She is online, Nancy
Okay.
Warner, as an attorney to help answer any questions as well. She helped with this franchise, and when I talked to her about the resolution, we could do the resolution tonight, or we could wait to approve it formally next time. I opted probably just do it when it's all together as opposed to separate, so we can discuss the resolution day. But the ask would probably be to approve it when the
Okay.
ordinance gets adopted next meeting.
So now we're starting ordinance 925, an ordinance amending Title 3 and 13 of the Scappoose Municipal Code to add chapter 13.36 utility use of public right-of-ways and to amend chapter 3.08 public utility taxes. Like I said, City Manager Ben Bergener, Nancy Werner's online, and Bradley Werner LLC. Ben, want to take it away?
Yeah, I mean, you have the staff report in front of you and all the documents provided. Just as a little bit of context for this, we were working with several franchises. We have the garbage franchise that is coming due in February, and then we had Lumen AT&T looking at doing a new franchise with us. That kind of spun this off to where I would prefer, and I think it's a good policy I've seen in other cities too, as opposed to having a franchise per company when they really are doing the same thing, like with telecommunications, that we just have our general franchise or requirements for use of utilities in our, or putting utilities in a right of way, and then go more towards where that's just set in our code, and then they just apply for licenses to follow that code as opposed to trying to negotiate per franchisee. That saves us staff a lot of time. It saves the city time as well, because each franchisee tends to come in and want to change things. You have to get an attorney for it every single time to negotiate and look at every single red line. It's a cumbersome process for sure. So I had reached out to Nancy to kind of look at this and redo our franchise agreements so that we could look at a simpler way and more consistent way across all people to have to follow the same rules. She provided the updates to our franchise, to these chapters in our municipal code. Also, we were able to identify several areas that we could improve on, such as we had identified bringing up the franchise fees to all be consistent, other than anything that is statutorily mandated, stuck at a limit below. So the recommendation is to move those up to 7% across the board, other than those, like I said, that it would not apply to. That would only apply when current franchises are expired to those franchisees, but it would apply to anybody new immediately coming in. The added another areas that we looked at with that, with franchisees who are using our right-of-way that don't have any customers, that we can still capture some of that impact to our right-of-ways. We only have 1 or 2 in there that would apply to, where they don't have customers in the city, but that we can have a set fee for that. As well as we had identified some other areas of providers that currently have not been paying, that should have been paying with our old privilege tax, that with this updated code, it will help us use that moment to go and remind them of the code that we already had decades ago that they should have been following, but to get them started right away for some of those areas with like cellular providers that do use our right of way to get the fiber to their towers and do have impact there. So yes, I think that covers everything we had in the staff report. And just as a summary, one of the other things that we did opt to do, as opposed to creating a whole new franchise code, we did identify that our privilege tax was already in there from decades ago, and we do have a grandfathered use of that we did not want to use. So Nancy did take the time to work with our current code to make it apply to that without losing any of the grandfathered benefits that we have with our privilege tax, which is one of the reasons we wrote it the way we did, as opposed to a separate franchise code by itself. Any questions?
Yeah,
Or Nancy, anything to add to that?
My only question was, why did we need to go to Chicago for expertise on this subject?
A good question. Franchise law is a very niche law. And Nancy used to, you have to correct me on this, Nancy used to work with or for BEH while you're here in Oregon. They've retained her because she has years and years of experience working in Oregon and knowing Oregon law and all the ins and outs of it. So I have reached out in other cities. It is hard to find a good franchise attorney who knows the ins and outs, and working with Nancy, she's been very thorough and understanding in her explanations and just knowing the law pretty well. So I've been impressed thus far.
And a former BEHer.
Yeah. So
So I do, Mayor. So I do have a question. What if, hi Nancy, I was gonna ask, I didn't catch who Nancy was in the beginning, so thank you for asking. So my question is like, one of my questions is, have we thought, what if the companies or organizations say, we don't want to do that, or they refuse, or have we thought about the risk of that? Is there any legal risk of them not complying? I'm just,
Right. One major correction that even internally that we've had to address in thinking about franchise fees is cities are responsible and have the authority to manage their right of ways. And so operating in there, we get to set those rules, and there's statutory rules behind there. Nancy, you can probably explain this a lot better than I can, but we set the precedence of what they operate in. And we try to make it uniform across the board with best practices that are typically seen in most of these franchise agreements anyways. In constructing this, we took our franchise agreements and just, I mean, they're usually pretty similar. There's just parts that some franchisees like to negotiate, try to get better rates or more leniency. But if they object, they can't do business here. is
okay, so
basically
there's
what it
no
comes.
legal risk for us. Is that what we're saying?
I'll let Nancy answer that one.
Yeah, so in terms of doing the license as opposed to a franchise, I do not believe there is a legal risk there. The franchise process does take longer, so most companies want to get into the right of way quickly, or if they're already in the right of way, don't want to spend the money either on negotiating a franchise. So generally speaking, I think that this is a fast approach that most utilities like. There is a provision in the right-of-way ordinance, the new chapter 1336, that would allow you, the council, to grant a franchise if a company came in and said, we simply cannot follow your right-of-way ordinance because we have a unique situation. I have never seen that come up. I've done a lot of these right-of-way ordinances in Oregon and it hasn't come up, but I always like to keep it in there just in case. You never know what's going to come up. So there is an avenue for you, the council, to say, okay, this one company really can't comply with this specific requirement, so we'll do a franchise that will change that one requirement or two requirements for that company. So we have that out if needed. I think where you might get pushback, and we have received a letter from representatives of AT&T, is regarding the fees. I think it's been referenced that there is an Oregon law that passed in 2019 that preempts certain fees that are based on gross revenues, but it does not preempt fees that were in existence at the time. The city's privilege tax has been in place since 1986. So in other cities, I have heard companies raise this 2019 preemption and say you can't do these revenue-based fees. That is not an issue here because your privilege tax already exists and is grandfathered in. So sorry, I'm kind of long-winded here, but I'm never going to say there's absolutely no risk because you never know what someone's going to claim. So you might get some companies who claim that these fees are preempted, but I don't believe that is the case. I think we have there's clear authority in the statute. You have home rule authority to impose these fees, and you are grandfathered in. So I'm comfortable that you can continue to enforce your fees, your privilege tax from 1986.
Okay, and have you projected what these, if we put everyone at the 7%, what would those projection would be in like 3 to 5 years?
And we'll get some of that when we come back with some of the revenue, as we're going through that revenue opportunity analysis with NJ. But there are a lot of these, as you say, over the next 3 years, and we have that table in the staff report. Some of them don't expire until 2033. Like the PUD doesn't expire until 2033, but they're already at the 5. They're one of those that are stuck at 5% unless we show justification beyond that. So even though we have 7%, they will still be at 5%. But the rest of these, it's just more when in the next 3 years, not a lot. We're going to talk about that later with waste management, moving that up to 7. That will generate some revenue. I don't have the number on the top of my head though, what that will do. The same thing with Northwest Natural Gas when theirs comes in 2032, that will go up to 7. And then any other telecommunications that come in will be at 7. So it's some. I mean, it won't be a huge change for a lot of them, but there are some that it will affect.
And just to also reiterate, it's when they expire, no sooner. Just like you said, PUD, we have a 10-year, but we're halfway there.
When it
We can-
expires or if there's a new, yeah. So if there's a brand new telecommunications provider that comes in, this would apply to them right off the bat.
Okay.
But if we have an existing franchise, we need to abide by the rules of that franchise until it expires.
How many do we have total? Do you know?
It's just the ones that were listed right
Oh.
here.
So a Stay On Broadband expired in December, so that one can be, I haven't heard of them much. AT&T expired, so that one will be changed. The others, 2020 or 2033, Waste Management, like you said, later this year.
I think it was CenturyLink that came before. I may have been the only one on count. Joel may have been here, but they came forward and they wanted a lot longer term. It was like a 20 or 30-year term. And I looked at it. So why, there's no benefit to the city in doing that. It just locks us in so we can't renegotiate. So the majority council actually agreed, and we did, I think, if I remember correctly, we cut that term in half because I was concerned about not knowing what the future looked like. So I'm glad that that occurred.
Well, yeah, going forward, will you do like a 7% or will you say the maximum amount allowed? So that way in 3 years, if they allow you to go more than 7, we don't have to wait till the term expires. We could negotiate.
Right. So that's what's nice about this is this is set by ordinance, not per user. So anytime we want to update our ordinance, we can adjust our rates as is, and that would be effective the second the ordinance goes into place. So that does take away that waiting for 5-10 years to make adjustments to those type of things.
So is that what you tie the licensing to then? So you set your franchise policy basically, and then you issue licenses so that it does give you the flexibility to adjust on.
Right. So they get a license, and then you have to speak a little bit more on that. I saw in the staff report, it was 5 years, but it's annual.
The license term is 5 years, but the license basically says you, the utility, who will be the licensee, will follow the city's right-of-way ordinances and pay all the fees and taxes owed as those are changed, if they are changed, during the term of your license. So you're not locked in, you, the city, are not locked in for that 5-year term. If you make a tweak to the right-of-way construction rules, that will automatically apply to the licensees. If you decide to move the privilege tax up to 8%, that will automatically apply to the licensees. So there is a term, so the licensee knows you're authorized to be in the rights of way for 5 years, but it doesn't mean the city can't change its ordinance because it's a generally applicable ordinance. You wouldn't be picking on a particular, like Northwest Natural, and changing the rules just for them. It's generally applicable, so you are able to make those changes, and then everybody needs to comply with them who's on the license. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And here it does say, in addition to establishing a new right-of-way fee, the attached resolution that we will be looking at, 2601, establishes a right-of-way annual registration fee and a right-of-way license application fee, which would be good for 5 years.
And in
Yeah, and
response
sorry-
to saying, oh, go ahead, Nancy.
Sorry, I was going to say there's also a registration requirement that's 1 year. That's separate. That is, the registration is for companies that don't own facilities in the rights of way. The privilege tax that we've been talking about that's been on the book since 1986 applies to companies that use the rights of way and or occupy the rights of way. And the way those terms have been used and interpreted by the Oregon courts is use means using someone's facilities in the rights of way. It could be your own, it could be a third party's, whereas occupy means own. So your privilege tax already applies to those who own facilities in the rights of way and those who use facilities, even if they don't own anything. So the registration would apply to those users. So you don't have to, if you don't own any facilities in the rights of way, but you have an arrangement to use facilities in the rights of way, you would register, and then you're still subject to the privilege tax as you already would be in that situation. And what the right of way fee does is it applies separately. It's part of the existing privilege tax ordinance, but it's called an annual permit fee. We just clarified it by changing the name to a right-of-way fee. And it applies only to entities that do not have any revenue or don't have any customers in the city. So a revenue-based privilege tax would generate $0 from them. So what we're doing is just finally setting a rate for that, what used to be called annual permit fee, and we're now calling a right-of-way fee, that would apply only to those that don't earn revenue in the city.
And in response, Mayor, to your question about maximum amount allowed, some of these franchisees or companies, there is no set statutory limit. So setting a rate where we are, I don't know, Nat, I think that's the better route to go, because what would that even mean for? There's only a couple I can think of, like if it's a local public utility district, like our PUD here, they are limited to 5. Comcast is limited to 5 by the feds. Beyond that, I mean, I was talking to our garbage, and I don't remember what he said. It was Gresham. I think theirs is 10% or 8% or something like that. So they can go above 7 in some of these areas. So we would just need to look at what rate in the future, now or in the future, is where the council wants us to be at, and that it is within reason. I think if you went to 50 and 70%, they could probably question that as being reasonable. But yeah, most of these areas down here, is talking to Nancy, she sees somewhere between 7 to 8% is pretty standard.
These costs get passed on to the consumers.
Some do, yeah, some do. They have, every company operates a little bit different. I've seen somewhere they have the first 3%, they eat, and then the rest go on. It just depends on what they're allowed to do, or what their structure, the organizational structure provides or allows.
That was going to be my next question. Nancy, do you have what have you seen as far as being in the industry, the providers? Do they generally pass that expense on to their customers, and what does that look like?
Yes, they generally do, particularly for the telecom companies. They generally pass the full amount through to their customers in the city, and just will put a line item on the bill that will say, in this case, probably city privilege tax or something like that. Some of them, the ones already paying a franchise fee, I can't guarantee it, but I am pretty sure they already collect the franchise fee in that way. So it wouldn't be a difference. The one exception is Northwest Natural. There is an Oregon Public Utility Commission rule that says that for gas companies, the first 3% of a privilege tax or franchise fee is included in their rate base, so they cannot pass that through to customers, but anything over 3% they can. So for Northwest Natural, I think they're at 5% now in their franchise fee, so they've probably been passing through 2%. If you go to 7%, then they would pass through 4%. Most likely.
Seeing this is a public hearing, is it like the public hearing we had last month for an ordinance? I mean, do I have to have proponents and opponents and kind of go through that whole process? Because we do have Troy from Verizon is online and would like to speak. And so I will entertain that, but and we also have a letter from the AT&T that I'd like to make sure we all see, but do I go through this like a normal ordinance and proponents and
Pretty sure. Is that correct, Nancy?
Yeah. You want to have the public hearing
Public
or
comment
opportunity
period.
for public testimony, however you usually phrase it. Yeah.
Okay, before we open this public hearing to any comments, does anybody have any more questions? Staff or legal counsel? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to start with proponents. We're going to open this public hearing. I don't have the thing to read about a public hearing, but we are now open. Proponents of the public hearing or proponents of this, why don't we let Troy from Verizon, if you want to speak, we'll go ahead and let you talk.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Troy Gagliano. I'm the government affairs person for Oregon, for Verizon. Yeah, happy to chat just a few minutes here. It won't take too long. Thanks for the opportunity. First of all, City of Scappoose is one of our customers, so we're honored to serve your various departments in terms of, or including police, fire, public works, wastewater. So just as a reminder, we're helping you guys do what you do. So my comments tonight, the only thing I wanted to ask was not to adopt this tonight. We'd like to engage in further discussions. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to play like one. But I can bring mine in and we can have further detailed discussions about some of these details. And the reason I wanted to chat with you this evening was we went through a similar discussion in West Lynn and Lake Oswego around summer through September of last year. I think that the nuance difference is you guys have the privilege tax, those other cities don't, but it's this idea of use of the right of way. So we'd love to have further conversation, maybe come back next month when you guys discuss it again or work with the city manager or whatnot in the interim. Let me provide a quick example of how we provide service, and it's all about this use of the right of way. So Verizon doesn't frequently own the cell phone towers you see like in church, on rooftops or at self-storage facilities. We lease space to put our antennas from others who own those. And if those are in the right of way, there's an impact to the city and those companies pay that fee. They charge us a bit because they're never going to have to pay that fee, but we lease that space from someone else. It's the same way with fiber optic cable that's in the ground. It's the Zipleys and the Lumens of the world that actually physically dig up your right of way, put their infrastructure in it. So there's an impact to them being there. This very phone call, I'm on a Verizon phone call dialing in. It probably is the data is coming across the glass in that fiber optic cable. So the argument is this conversation I'm having a use or an impact of the right of way? We're not so sure that is. Again, if we had infrastructure physically located in the right of way, absolutely, you charge us, and that's fair because we have an impact in the right of way. The way we've kind of looked at this, an example is kind of if you, with property tax. Say, for example, you're an apartment building owner and you have a bunch of tenants. The county rightfully charges you property tax, right? But the county doesn't then turn around and charge those individual tenants in the apartments additional tax for their use of that same building. So I just share that in terms of, because that was news to me when I started at Verizon. It's surprising that we don't own a lot of infrastructure. We lease it from others, and those folks do pay. So again, just we're asking not to adopt this tonight. Happy to bring in the right folks to meet with the city manager, Nancy, whomever y'all would prefer, and discuss some of these nuances to come back to council again. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Troy. Any comments? Any more proponents, opponents, any response to? I don't see anybody else online wanting to speak, so go back to a response to that. I don't even see them on the list. I mean, are they another one that would be on the list? Verizon?
Right now, we don't have a franchise with them. That's
Correct.
not somebody we have an agreement with.
Do we have a franchise with Lumen?
That is what we are working on. That's what actually brought us to place in the first place, is updating that because they're looking to get a franchise with the city.
But to that point is kind of like, I think what I thought I hearing from Troy. So it's basically, and I think this is something that you said, it's more of the businesses that are doing business in here in Scappoose versus the usage and so is it use, impact, or is it just doing business here?
Yes, Nancy, you had a really great way of explaining that last time we talked. I'll let you.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure which way I explained it last time, but first, but before I forget, I just want to say the adopting the right-of-way ordinance is in some ways separate. The privilege tax is already on the books. It already applies to those who use the rights of way and those who occupy the rights of way. So the right-of-way ordinance is really just streamlining the authorization for entities that want to be in the rights of way. The privilege tax is already there. So, and it applies to any utility that's operating without a franchise. So anybody who has an expired franchise right now is already subject to the privilege tax. Anybody who wants to come into the city but doesn't have a franchise will be subject to the privilege tax. So just want to make it clear that you're not adopting a privilege tax tonight. The only suggestion on the privilege tax, a couple of clarifications and then changing from 5% to 7%. Just want to make sure that's clear. So, but in terms of what the privilege tax applies to, again, it applies in two different ways by the way it is written and has been written for decades. It applies to entities that use the rights of way and entities that occupy the rights of way. And none of us were around, I don't think, in 1986 when this was adopted, but I'm fairly confident that the reason that the city would have done that is because if you just impose a revenue-based fee on the facility owner, then it's really easy for the facility owner to set up a subsidiary who's going to provide the services and generate the revenue. And we've seen this happen. A lot of cities have gone this direction with these use and occupancy fees because otherwise the facility owner can have all of the revenue come through a subsidiary and say to you, the city, we don't have any revenue. So we own the facilities, but we have no revenue. So we're not going to pay anything under the privilege tax. And then the subsidiary doesn't own anything. So you can't get their revenue unless you apply the fee also to the user. So that's why this, what I call two-tier fee structure came about, is to make sure that anybody who's benefiting from facilities in the rights of way is paying compensation to the city, and companies can't game the system with subsidiaries who, and playing with which entity has the revenue and which one doesn't. Is that the explanation you were looking for, or is there a different one that you?
No,
that I
no, that's
gave?
great. At one time you talked about, yeah, that's a really good one. I was going to echo the same thing, that really that impact, but for there being fiber already there, Verizon or AT&T, T-Mobile, they would have to put new fiber in to operate their towers. So it's still using the right of way, just like anybody else would. They just happen to, just like with any of these other telecoms who may come in and rent that fiber to go out and give telecommunications. It's really that same idea. Is they're still using the fiber. They're still providing impact. If we didn't have those, there would not be the impact in the right of way. And it's the same idea, regardless of what company is doing it. But yeah, your explanation, you're really good at following up with it. So thank you.
Okay.
So Ben, do you have a reaction to Troy from Verizon's request?
Well, just as Nancy mentioned, we're not actually passing a privilege tax. That's already in the books. So that was their initial objection. But we're also not adopting this tonight either. We do have our first reading, and it will be a second reading next month. So there will be time, and I already offered, we have been in touch with Troy via email to have Nancy get on the phone with their people, and they can talk through any of those things as well. So we are working through that.
And everything is timing. So if we do go through this and leave it off where we would normally leave it, and something comes to light and some changes are brought up, then we'll have that at the next meeting and can see before we would finalize a vote.
Right.
And then C&2, now you have a resolution, but now we're talked about potentially holding a resolution until the ordinance is taken effect.
Right. They're kind of tied together. We could adopt one without the other, but if the ordinance didn't pass, then we'd have to go back and rescind the resolution. So it's probably best just to hold off until next time. There's no real extreme benefit for us to get it passed today, other than for discussion purposes, that this is kind of connected. The resolution is really identifying more what that fee would be for people who don't have any customers in the city. Think of like PGE. They don't have any customers in our city, but they do have infrastructure going through our city, that we can make sure that impact is taken care of as well for them.
And if we did vote tonight and stop and finalize it next meeting, it still takes 30 days to take effect, but you could vote it that day for the resolution.
Right. Yeah. So next time we just vote on both.
Or it takes effect.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll close the public hearing. Is there anybody opposed to the ordinance? Besides the one Troy, I think, was more informational.
Or technically, we'd be opposed until we can
Yeah.
have further discussion, but thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying.
They're opposed, and then we had some comment responding to that opposition. And then, so we've had proponents, neutral. And, so I will close the public hearing and move on then to the next, looking for, an approval or a motion to approve. The ordinance,
Ordinance, yeah,
first reading.
first reading.
We have to make a motion and a second, and then we leave it at that point. If somebody wants to.
This is the first reading.
First reading of
Just clarify.
ordinance nine
First reading of the
twenty-five.
ordinance.
Getting a little lost in the details.
First
here.
reading of ordinance 925.
Mr. Mayor,
Council President Miller.
I move council approve ordinance 925, an ordinance amending Title 3 and 13 of the Scappoose Municipal Code to add chapter 13.36, utility use of public right-of-way, and to amend chapter 3.08, public utility taxes as written.
Motion by Council President Miller to approve ordinance 925, an ordinance amending Title 3 and 13 of the Scappoose Municipal Code to add chapter 13.36, utility use of public right-of-ways, and to amend chapter 3.08, public utility taxes. Any second?
A second.
Second by Councilor Marquis. Okay, I will leave it at that point, and we will bring it back up next meeting for potential discussion and vote.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
do we need to include the resolution number 26-01 in this?
Because, like he said, if for some reason this fails, that, and we pass the resolution tonight, we'd have to
Okay.
go back and change
But we
it.
don't have to address that this evening.
Well,
We don't need to approve it today. It was just more
Yeah.
information at this point.
If we put it on after the ordinance next month, if it passes, then we can look at that resolution.
Can I ask a request for Ben? I mean, can I get, I guess, the list that was provided, but you mentioned like PGE and all this other companies. Can I get more of like a detailed list of who that would apply to?
Yeah, some of these just unknown at this point. We have to dig in because we don't have agreements with them. That was some of what still needs to be uncovered, which ones are not currently paying our privilege tax that should have been. So Nancy and the city would be sending out some letters to each of these agencies to remind them that we have. We could look into the towers of who already has a tower there. As well as, I mean, PGE is the only one I know that has infrastructure that doesn't have customers in the city. I don't think that really applies to anybody else that I'm aware of. So that would be the only one I could add on the list of people I know. The other ones would just be the cell phone providers that we're looking into.
Will we know by our next meeting when we're going to vote?
We can try to get that information. We don't own those towers, so I don't have the contracts of who's on those towers at this time. I mean, I'm probably safe to assume that the major ones for sure, but there could be others of smaller networks that I'm not aware of.
Ben, I have a question about that, and I think this is kind of covered, but so American Tower is one of them. They're a tower company that leases space to different wireless people that want space on their tower. And then there's, I think, AT&T Mobility, who does have a tower I can't remember for sure, but I think there's 2 or 3 out there. So,
Yeah.
so the actual owners of the towers, they get taxed in a different way, right? And then I want to make sure I understand this. And then the service providers that are actually located on those towers providing a service.
Right.
It's
If you have
different.
infrastructure in the city right away, then you would have the right of way fee
Mhm.
if you have no customers. So if it's just somebody providing the infrastructure, then it's different than those who actually have customers within the city, where that becomes that privilege tax based off of the customers that they have and what they are charging them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just
So
to be
anybody on
clear,
that
if I may-
tower would, oh, go ahead, Nancy.
I'm so sorry. I just want to be really clear. Towers on private property or antennas on a structure that's not in the right of way, those are not covered here. Those companies only are subject to the privilege tax if they use facilities in the rights of way. So the ownership of a tower outside the rights of way doesn't trigger anything under this ordinance. It would only be ownership or use of facilities in the rights of way.
Thanks. There was mention of a tower and that's got a little confused there. Thank you.
There can be a tower in the right of way. The word tower as defined by the FCC can be anything that holds a wireless antenna. So theoretically you can have a tower in the right of way, but most of us use that word and we're thinking of a 200-foot tower on a, in a lot somewhere.
If we have like Bonneville Power towers or coming through, does that go through the PUD? Because they are the ones that work power or?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, for a later time.
Yeah, I can look
Okay.
into some of those specifics of who.
Once we get the ordinance done, if it does, then we can start addressing all those issues.
Right.
Go with them. Now we've got an ordinance and a resolution. Okay,
Right, and once again, if they have any, even if they have one customer in the city, the right-of-way fee does not apply to them. It goes to the privilege tax, which would be based off of their agreement with that customer that they're charging. That they pay a percentage of that.
thank you. Thank you, Nancy.
I'm sorry, I'm not usually at your meetings. Do you do a vote? Because there was a motion and a second, but I don't think there was actually a vote. On
Because
first
it is a
reading.
public hearing with a first reading, we have to leave it off at that spot. And
Okay,
then we'll, at our next
just-
meeting, we'll have more discussion potentially, and then the vote, and then it will be over.
got it. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with your process. Usually I'm used to if there's 2 readings, then there's a vote at each meeting. And so I
vote,
apologize for questioning
Oh.
you. I just wasn't sure. So thank you so
No.
much for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, up to number 5, solid waste franchise renewal. City Manager Ben Bergener and Dave Huber, Waste Management of Oregon, Senior Manager, Public Sector Services.
And Mr. Mayor, before
Yeah.
we get started, given my employer, has contracts with Waste Management and most of the haulers around the state and providing funding for recycling services, which could impact economics of recycling across the state long term. I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion about rates as I did the last time Waste Management came in. So I will step down for this and sit
Great.
quietly in the back of the room. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
So just as a quick summary real quick, to where we're at with this. We're hoping to get the actual franchise today, but because we're working on this other one, I have one franchise attorney, she has limited time. So she was able to get my red lines, but we don't have the actual franchise to look at today, but I still want Dave to come because Joel had asked about rates. We want to make sure we follow it up to show the rate analysis and comparisons. Their franchise does expire February 18th. So we will have to, and the next meeting is February 17th. So at that time we'll be proposing an emergency ordinance to make sure it's effective right away. But I want to make sure we had enough discussion ahead of time. So it's not just here's an ordinance, we want to make sure there's context, where we're going, what we're doing, kind of the things we're looking at as well. And the rest of it will be kind of more that legal current franchise, just any updates to that with legal language and like I said, Nancy's working on that, and we're working with them and their attorney to nail down some of those things.
So with that, it would normally require a second reading, but because of timing and the contract expires, we will hopefully get through everything in one meeting and it will go in effect immediately.
Right, that would be the idea for we don't want waste sitting around the city, so we want to make that go effective so they can keep operating in the city. There's only a few changes to the franchise agreement that we're looking at to make it streamlined, similar like we're doing with this other ordinance, to make it easier for both Waste Management and us going forward. So beyond that, I'll also be sending out the ordinance ahead of time to the council. You can review it and give me any comments if you have any major concerns with any of the language once we iron it out as it gets closer. But for now, the discussion is more with Waste Management. So you have Dave and Nick here to discuss kind of their service, asking questions, and the proposal that we are, just so you know, we already talked with Waste Management, likewise to bring them up to 7%. They're already aware of that. Haven't had any objections to my knowledge. Like I say, it's pretty standard that they have places that are higher. So I'll turn the time over to you for now.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Bergener. Good evening, Mayor and City Councilors. My name is Dave Puber. I am WM's Senior Public Sector Manager here for Oregon. So thanks for your time this evening. And I also have my colleague.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. My name's Nick Reese. I've been part of the operations here in Scappoose since 2019. This area and community holds a really special place in my heart as where I really began my operational management journey. So I'm very thankful for this city and area. I guess I just wanted to share a little bit with the council kind of our safety record out here providing service to the customers. It was disappointing. We did have one safety incident in May of last year. It was a minor vehicle accident. Prior to that, we were going on for a 4-year stretch. And so I know my team takes a lot of pride servicing this area. I actually have one of my drivers. He lives about 2 blocks from here, and he's out here every day servicing the community and busted out here as well.
Thank you, Nick. So yeah, for tonight's discussion, we just wanted to give a quick overview. I know, of course, if we look at the main topic this evening, it's the for the franchise renewal. And that is the city manager explained, it is due to expire this next month. So we're looking to renew that. No significant changes other than the franchise fee, which as he alluded to, it's currently at a 5% franchise fee, looking to move it to a 7% franchise fee. And I can say in the solid waste industry, that franchise fee has over the years, it's kind of evolved to a lot of cities in Oregon are right around that 7-8% range. There's some outlier. There's one city that we service, it's as high as 10%. But then there's also some that are as low as 4%. So wanted to touch on our collection services quickly, just show a rate comparison to what some of the other jurisdictions and areas are currently at compared to the city of Scappoose. Just give some quick updates on recycling and just answer any questions that you may have. So we have been a community partner here for 26 years here in the city of Scappoose. We offer comprehensive solid waste collection for residential, commercial customers, as well as industrial drop box work as well. We service almost 2,400 residential customers here in the city. The garbage is on a weekly service, and then the recycling for the residential customers is on an every other week collection service. The city of Scappoose customers also have the opportunity to subscribe to Yard Debris Service. And I know that, over the past, probably 5-7 years, we've had discussions that, in fact, I think we might even offered every other week Yard Debris Service as a standard. But we still, and we can still look at that too, but right now it's a subscription service. So you pay more if you elect for that service. We have over 140 commercial customers here in the city that have weekly trash and recycling services. And then of course, as I mentioned, the Dropbox services that we offer for, large industrial or, the restaurant, or not restaurants, but maybe grocery stores, for example, here in the community. Okay, so this slide, I know it's really busy, but if I can just kind of have everybody look up in that upper left-hand corner, the service that we provide here in the city of Scappoose for the most, the most common service is the 35-gallon garbage recycling or garbage cart, which comes with the recycling service as well. So per month, that looks for the city of Scappoose customers is $27.35. So if you look over to the, in the columns as you move to the right, there's 6 other examples there of, there's the city of Portland. This, excuse me, certainly higher. And Columbia County, the Scappoose area. So this is the area just outside of the city limits here in Scappoose that we provide service for. And that is higher as well. There's the city of St. Helens. We don't provide service there, but the rate is there. And please, note the asterisks. City of St. Helens does have weekly recycling and yard debris. So there are some variables with these rates. Columbia County, around the St. Helens area, outside the city limits, you see the rate there as well. And then we provide service up in the city of Vernonia. And you can see that rate that we currently provide service for up there, as well as the unincorporated portion of Columbia County up around the Vernonia area. That rate there on the far right-hand side. So, and then we also provided the cost for the 65-gallon trash cart. That's the second most common service for residential customers. And then the 95, which is the largest one, that's also there on the rate comparable sheet. So as I mentioned, there are some variables. Some of the services are weekly versus every other week. But as you can see, WM, we provide competitive services here and for a very lower cost rate if you look at the surrounding areas. Okay, next slide.
Dave, quick question.
Yes.
So what's the current percentage franchise fee for Portland?
The city of Portland, I believe, is at a 8% franchise fee.
8%? All right, thank you.
Yep. So there's a lot going on in the recycling industry right now, and that is because of the new law that went into effect this past year with the Recycling Modernization Act. And that has really opened the door for a big change as, a lot of the responsibility has been shifted over to producers that make the materials here in Oregon. And the goal of the Recycling Modernization Act is to really provide recycling services for everyone throughout the state of Oregon. Fortunately for us here in the city of Scappoose, we were providing that service. But one of the other goals is to make it uniform throughout the state. So what we collect at the curb is going to be the same that if they collect down in Southwest or Southern Oregon or Eastern Oregon. But one of the exciting things that really we'd like to share is that we opened a new recycling facility in Portland just this past summer. And it's a large facility, and it's where all of our curbside recycling collection or material is going to soon. The material here in Scappoose will be going there as they work through the material and the synergies there. But it's a great facility. If anybody's interested in going out and touring the facility, I'd be more than happy to share. It's over a $35 million investment. And it's been a great facility there, which is located right in North Portland off Columbia Boulevard. So you can see the grand opening there, picture up above, and then some of the inbound material in that picture down in the far right corner too. So there, along with all of these changes with the recycling system here in Oregon, there's been a lot of work in the background with DEQ. And I know with the opportunity to recycle report that is filled out every year, and that's through the city. So I know I've been working a lot with city staff as we work through all of the changes, because there's new elements that are part of that opportunity to recycle report that are different. The expectations are a little bit higher. So anyway, I just want to thank the city staff for working with me on that as we make sure that we're, checking all the boxes off on the elements for the opportunity to recycle report. And on behalf of all of our employees, we just want to thank you for letting us be a part of the community here in Scappoose, and we look forward to your partnership as we move forward. So,
Thank you. I've got a couple of questions. Now, looking at this chart, is Columbia County Scappoose area serviced by you? Is that a every other week recycling as well as Scappoose? I just didn't see an asterisk by it, but it's the same.
exactly.
And so like garbage picked up there, let's say in our city, then you take it to St. Helens and dump it.
That's correct.
And so the employee that lives here, does he have to drive all the way to Hillsborough to get a truck, come back here, work, go to St. Helens, then go back out and dump his truck off?
He does. And we are very appreciative that he likes to drive because that's but it's worked out well. We have operations over in Hillsborough and unincorporated Washington County. So it's really worked well for us to have a larger home base there, especially when it comes to maintaining our fleet and the trucks and having those technicians all there at the site. Because I know these trucks, they keep getting, to be more technical and more difficult to work on, as they get more advanced in technology.
And something else that we recently did just to try to get a better work-life balance for our weekly job needs. So 410 instead of 5/8. So that gets huge benefits. So if somebody does have to come in.
Okay. So the contract, I mean, our franchise is, let's say, up at the end of the year, but the contract itself is up in a month. And that's an annual contract that we do.
It's every 5 years. Yeah, the franchise agreement.
But you can come in occasionally in off years and increase based on something, gas, fuel prices.
That is correct. As you recall, I think it was this past June or July, I was here in front of you because our request was for a CPI increase just to keep us within a reasonable rate of return.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay, so we will have our ordinance then look and the contract also. Or you'll have this on the next meeting,
Right, the ordinance, they're synonymous together. It's with that, it'll be an attachment of
Okay.
what that franchise all includes, and how those rates look.
Great. Appreciate it. Thanks for your guys' service and work out here. I've never-
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both.
Thanks. Thank you. If I could add, I was one of those drivers back in 1999 when the family business here was acquired, and so I'm still with WM, so that's a good sign, I guess. Anyway, thank you.
That's good. Okay, on to number 6, I believe, discussion supporting the library district operating levy. Okay, we had brought this up last, Jolene had come and given us a little synopsis. The library is looking to go for an option levy in May's ballot. And we discussed it and I kind of put a tentative resolution together just for us to kind of look at, maybe if there's anything that we need to adjust. I want to wait. They have a meeting coming up at the beginning of February, which will give it a levy number to put in the ballot, and I'd like to put that on our resolution. So we're really specific about what we're supporting, what the measure number is. But if we can kind of see what we're looking at, the main thing is it's a 5-year levy at 10 cents per $1,000 assessed property value. And the reasonings are the importance of libraries and what the Scappoose Library does for the city of Scappoose and provides. And what would happen if the levy wasn't to pass, the amount of funding that they wouldn't have. And I don't think Council President Miller was here, but we're one of the lowest funded libraries in the state. So there's definitely some there, and they have a permanent levy. Can't remember the exact amount, but they have a permanent levy. But they haven't had an operating levy on top of that at all in the last ever 30 years.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So the deadline for filing with the county is not until February 26th or February 28th. I can't remember which. Are they going to, if I remember correctly, they don't assign major numbers until closure of the filing. So does that mean that we're likely not going to have the major number assigned by dawn in elections?
No, right now our plan is we're gonna actually file around February 9th or 10th. And we have the Friends of the Library is the PAC that's gonna fund the advocacy part of this campaign. Library itself is just informational. But they're concerned that they're having a big library sale, book sale on February 14th, and they'd love to have the language and all that formalized with the number on it when that happens. So
I'm sorry.
we're ready, legally
When-
ready.
When is that?
February 14th. February 14th is. the
Yeah,
book
February
sale.
14th.
So hopefully when you do file on the 8th or 9th or 7th, they will assign a number at that time versus.
Yeah, I don't know how, Don has not told us how long it
Well, I
takes to
think
get
there's
us
a
the number.
7-day hiatus there. So once it's filed into the 7-day waiting period, but then presumably by the 14th, that'll be finalized. So from-
Yeah,
We-
well, yeah, there's a 7-day waiting period after you file, so people can complain that want to complain or make changes. But I'm not sure how that connects with the number, because you need the number to go on
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
We would like that in our next meeting. At that point will be February 17th. So hopefully we
Yeah,
will
you'll have it by then.
hopefully we'll have it by then. If not, we'll have to adjust.
So do we need to take a vote to make sure that we're all in favor of supporting it and then we can bring back the final on the 17th? Is that what we're?
Yeah, I mean, it's more like, yeah, I'd like a good thumbs up because I'd love it to be obviously unanimous, but we are generally in support of it. And then we'll look at it and vote on it at that time.
I
And
just want to make sure that Jolene has the assurance
Yeah.
or whatever council decides now, because it sounds like you guys are relying on it. So I guess that's my only concern is, can we do an official vote on it now? Is everybody comfortable if you want to do it that way?
yeah, I mean, if you want to make a motion to show support for the library levy so that they feel something on record that we've all voted. It's nothing official, like we're supporting the specific levy number, but it just
You know,
shows.
I'm not sure that's necessary because of the timing here. So it's like the school district didn't have a measure number, but they voted unanimously to support a resolution supporting the library. So we can probably follow on the same path.
Well, the language is different though, but this is supporting the levy. Different language on the library. and school.
Oh,
Vote to support the resolution that then will support the levy.
Right.
Or we just all give her a thumbs up. That
Yeah.
we're.
I think either way, we're.
An informal indication, I think is probably fine.
So can I get, so are we supporting, what is supporting? I just wanted to clarify. How are we supporting by doing what?
We're supporting by passing what resolution language that says the city council, if that's the way we vote, supports the levy of 10 cents per 1,000 of assessed property value. And it's a 5-year option levy.
So we're essentially endorsing.
I guess we're endorsing the resolution that we will vote on. Obviously, things can change and we got to vote on it. I mean, we're not, but I'm trying to think if you do need something more formal for your board. But I think you can give them the thumbs up that the council is supporting the resolution,
Which has a levy on it. So.
which will have a levy on it, and we'll vote on this next meeting officially to support the measure if nothing changes at that time.
So I think if we give you all thumbs up on this at this point, that's like a vote. And it's our commitment to support this officially when we have the numbers and so forth.
I personally, thumbs up, support.
I support it.
Definitely support.
All right, each of us have given you that. So hopefully we'll be back with a measure number and a resolution number.
Right, and then the language you have in here that you then have to give your comment about official notes to the county that you're doing this, so is part of this, so.
There
Yeah.
should be an endorsement, an official, I don't know, is it an 810 or something? I don't remember what the number is. It's an SEL form, but it's, I think the county might require it. And then that's also what you need when you turn in your statement to the county clerk for the voters pamphlet. So we'll get you one of those.
Oh, actually, your board minutes would be good.
Okay.
Do the final
And
vote.
we'll sign this. I'll sign this and
Yeah.
turn it in as well.
We'll make sure you have what you need.
Thank you.
Great.
You know
Thank
where
you,
to find
Jolene.
me.
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Joey.
you.
Okay, moving on real quickly, council liaisons, kind of that time of year, we're looking at this again. Looking for next year, we can vote on this at a later time if needed, but right now we have Columbia County, Council President Tyler Miller, Columbia Economics Team, which is no longer, so we will cross off Columbia Economic Team. Economic Development Committee, Councilor Jeanette Santiago, talk about that. Historical Society Watts House. I've been doing that, but they meet on the third Thursday of the month at 10 a.m. So if anybody has a passion for the Historical Society and wants to be part of that,
I would be interested in that.
okay. I'll get you all the information on that. And it's, I've gone to some of the meetings, report back, or just every once in a while go and see what they've got going on and just give us a report on what's happening in there. And then also if we need you to say anything to them too, we'll send it through you.
Do you know what time they meet?
I've been to one.
Oh,
Third
okay.
Thursday of the month at 10 a.m. That's what I
10 a.m.
believe is what they changed it to. It was on Saturday. Parks and Recreation, Counselor Kim Holmes, leave that as it is. Schools, Joe Haugen.
Yeah, I'd like to maintain the continuity there.
And Parks and Rec with Counselor Holmes, we'll have to define what that means. But with the disc golf and Grabhorn Park potentially going in and stuff, it'd be nice to have someone that can maybe talk to the city and keep us apprised of what is going on. And if we do get a recreation group, or if there is a staff,
Anybody else?
it's not a Parks and Rec committee, it's just Parks and Recreation. Senior Center, Ben, are you still city manager? Are you still going to those
Yeah, I've been going when I'm available to go to those.
third Thursday of the month, 2 p.m.? Traffic Safety, Council President Tyler Miller had volunteered.
How often?
Yeah, once a month.
It used to be once a month, council president, but now it's pretty much quarterly, so.
And what time does it?
I believe we're having them in the morning time frame. I believe it was on Thursdays.
Okay, I can make that happen. Thank you.
And then 50-year vision process, I believe we're done probably needing that. I mean, we can leave it on there for one more month if there's anything on there, but I don't think there's having more meetings. We're looking to potentially add, Councilor Holmes had mentioned she is working on the CERT committee. Would that be a good one? You guys meet from time to time. That's more of a staff committee.
Yes, we're trying to do monthly meetings. We have our next one next Tuesday, actually, I was going to talk about, but
Okay.
yes, I do kind of get that established
In
in
there,
the
so you can
bylaws.
give us updates on that. from
Sure.
time to time.
What's in fall? Oh, sorry, go ahead and
Which one?
finish this and then I can ask my question.
Go ahead. Involved in,
I'm trying to figure out how to word this. How big of a lift is left with the CERT committee?
50-year vision or CERT?
CERT.
I can answer that. So first of all, the CERT, for those who aren't aware, is the Community Emergency Response Team. I believe the police department used to have one maybe years back. I'm not too sure. So they're reestablishing that right now. So what we're trying to do is just build the organization back up, establish the missions, bylaws and things like that to build it up. So there. I do anticipate in the future though, that it will require dedication for training as we try to make it a viable resource in the case of natural disaster or any type of additional resource needed in the area. So,
Yeah, I'm hoping that whatever we do really good. If we're gonna, spend the effort and forming one and
yes.
everything. Yeah, it's these programs, not CERT specifically, but they just have a tendency in these smaller communities to have really good intentions, but then, kind of fizzle out. And I hope that we can embrace the importance of it, especially CERT. I'm a big believer of CERT and preparedness in
Me
general.
as well.
And just ensure that what I found, especially in these volunteer programs too, is you have to have really good engagement, because
Correct.
once you don't have the engagement from the folks that want to be involved, they, they want to spend their time worthwhile. So I just add my 2 cents into what I've observed in these smaller communities with volunteer programs. That's the biggest thing, is just engagement and being ran professionally, really.
Thank you. I agree with you, Councilman.
And if you guys need any help with anything supplemental or whatever, let me know. I'm happy to help.
Sounds good, sir. Thank you.
Kind of circling back on Economic Development Committee, did you want to find something else? Counselor Santiago?
I was just to say that sometimes it's really difficult midday on a Thursday to attend, especially I would love to attend in person, but if I don't know.
Is it one where we teamed up and we communicated, and if you're available, you great. If not, I will try to go.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
Other than just making me let me do it. We can try to work together on it.
It's also a Thursday. That's it.
And yeah, they're not meeting all the time, but as it comes up.
Next one's canceled.
Okay, I'll put you and me on there to help. Are we ready to vote on this, or do you want me to put together and put it in the packet next month and we can vote on it?
We do have committees listed on, just as a point, as part of a retreat. So it might be beneficial to wait if there's any changes from the retreat. I don't know what they may or may not be, but.
That's early February. That's fine. I
Right.
mean, this is, give us some time to think. Also, if there's any other committees or any that we don't need to do, you can think about. That's usually when we do it. So I'll give this to Susan, what we kind of have, and vote on it, talk about it at the retreat. Yeah, yeah.
But, and you can also just vote on this one tonight. You can always amend it later if we have any changes. Now
We can wait, and I'd like to talk to Counselor Ryuta too, to see if he wants to be on any of them, or he has an idea. Yeah. Okay. Good on that. And we're looking right now, we don't really have anything on the February 2 city council agenda.
No, not at this time. It's really close to the retreat. So
Yeah.
having a council meeting and planning for the retreat and then getting ready for the next council meeting right after that, it really puts staff in it's difficult to come up with.
Yeah, it's easier, especially we'll have a half a day or longer full day retreat shortly thereafter. So looking for a motion to cancel February 2nd meeting.
So move.
Counselor Haugen makes a motion. Any seconds? Second by Counselor Santiago. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, state by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Great. Number 9, discussion about trees.
Well, I've since found out within the last hour or so that it's kind of a moot point. But basically, what I wanted to bring, and I mean, it's still a relevant conversation. It's too late for these 2 particular trees. So the Remax office at the Casey House, which is at JP Weston, that's first, right? Yeah. That's occupied now by Leah Chitwood, is it? Yeah,
Did
and
you say Chickmunk?
Chitwood.
Oh, okay. It's like. Go back by.
Trees, chipmunks.
Okay, I was like,
Together,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, I'm going, okay.
But anyway, there were 2 fir trees that were estimated by an arborist that she had hired to be about 120 years old. and in excess of 100 feet. And because that location is within the overlay area, the city, by our code, it's the code, right? Required her to put in a street light, or is it just one? Do you know?
There's actually quite a bit that went into it. I can speak to
Okay.
that, but there is a required street light, not just
Okay.
because of the overlay, but because of the intersection.
Got it. Okay. So anyway, fast forwarding, just to make this quick, the electrician came out, the arborist came out to run the electricity to where the light needed to be. The trench would have to be through the roots of these trees. Well, that would have killed the trees according to the arborist. And so to put the light in, the way that I understand anyway, to put this light in, we now just cut down to 120-year-old trees. So, and this doesn't have anything to do with her. This is, to me, this is like a city issue, because we have had presentations on trees and trying to make sure that we have the trees that the city wants. And so it kind of seemed like a competing priority there. And so I guess what my ask would be at this point, because both of these trees have, a picture I just got about an hour ago showed that they're pretty much butchered, so they're gone. But when something like that comes up where there is a competing priority of the natural resource, I really do think that that does need to be considered, whether it be by council or we have a policy that staff evaluates. I don't know, but this was kind of disappointing in my opinion.
Yeah, that's sad.
So was it the light, is it more of just a standard, or was it a safety issue? Because if it's a safety issue.
Yeah, I did have a brief chance to talk to at least the engineer today about this. Lori was off today, so I wasn't able to get her perspective on there. But there's definitely more to the story behind that. There was not a requirement. So there are codes. We have our TSP, we have our downtown overlay that the council approved. We have our municipal code, or our development code. We have traffic safety standards. They all kind of played a role in this piece. And the staff did work with Leah and gave several options of how she can avoid cutting those trees down, including going out for urban renewal and doing something that actually was part of our TSP to help get some bulb outs, which she had declined to do to avoid going that route. And in addition to according to the engineer, the trench lines, there were options that they could have gone under the roots. And even with that, with the street improvements, they would have still ended up hitting these roots. These weren't considered heritage trees. They weren't registered as such. And they were identified before as being somewhat problematic and identified to come down. The city had gone through lawsuit many years ago with this specific area because these trees are very surface level. And I guess there was an issue that somebody got hurt on a bike. I wasn't here, I don't know all the details, but I do know this has been an ongoing issue. But regardless of that, the staff did work with her, and it was Leah's choice of which route she went to then, and for her arborist recommendation to then take them down. But yeah, I went over quite a bit with the staff on that to describe the process they went through, and it was not just a cut and dry, this is our code, you have to do it. They give many different options. Part of the urban renewal one, she didn't want it, there was timing issues, she wanted to get this done sooner. And urban renewal takes a little bit longer to get that money. But there is some future improvements that we still need to do in that area to get some bulb outs that would have, once again, say this, but part of this is not, so there are decorative lights on the south and the east part of her, northeast part of her property, but there's the intersection, there's a required Cobra light, which is not a decorative light, it is required for safety of that intersection, and that's where that line is actually coming through in that area, whether they would have bored underneath it or she chose to just cut through the roots. That regardless of the overlay would have still had to been done per our TSP and safety standards for that intersection.
I have a question. What triggered this all of a sudden?
That would be a question for, I could get some answers, but I think
Well, it's just
she was
interesting.
doing some development.
I mean, not having all the information, that it can be okay for decades. And then all of a sudden, because I'm assuming the change in, this is an assumption, the change of ownership, all of a sudden it then becomes a priority to do. but then it's rooted in safety, no pun intended.
Yeah, typically change of ownership doesn't trigger development requirements. It'd be a change of use or if they're doing other improvements to their property. So I don't know the specifics on this application of what triggered what she's doing. But yeah, it wouldn't just because she bought the property, there would have been more to.
Yeah.
It went before planning committee. I remember in part of it, part of the use change or whatever.
Change of use, yeah.
She's been working on this quite a while, at least a year or two or more, and with driveway and parking lot, like all these issues.
But it included street trees as part of the plan that she submitted.
Right.
I don't know, they're gonna replace it. I was sad to see that happen, but it sounds like unless a tree is registered as a heritage tree, we don't have any recourse if a private owner wants to take a tree down. They can do it.
Right.
I was sad to see the big sequoia go across from the post office too.
Oh, yeah.
Does,
It seems like we need to take a look at that in our development code to tighten it up a tad. Because so heritage trees really should be protected.
do we have, like you said, in urban renewal, do trees qualify to plant trees? I mean, I don't know if that's what she was gonna be looking at on urban renewal, but if you are taking any down, it'd sure be nice to put some more back up.
Well, the identify, what Chris had mentioned of what the urban renewal was, they were going to realign the road and make a bulb out so that they could actually take the power line around the roots and put that light further out. She did not want to do those extra improvements. So the city will in the future have to come back and make those improvements and change it anyways. But yeah, it was, there were, and it's not just that, there were other options they provided that could have avoided going through the roots. Some of it makes sense. It might be more cost to her, to the landowner, and it was just maybe the best choice. I don't know her reasoning or rationale behind it. According to Chris, there was no, I mean, they didn't even know they were going to come down until we're notified of it, because up until then, there was no real objection that was identified over the whole planning process. And
But she would have have to, there would probably been an extra cost to go around the tree, and so it would be on her bill, right?
Right, if she wanted to preserve that tree for her site, if it's not a heritage tree or required tree to maintain, that typically development falls on the developer.
Yeah,
So,
I think my understanding too is that the change in use triggered, the other parking lot related issues. There were complications there, and my understanding is that bill's coming out to like $100,000. So I can understand too that when you're that, you had no idea that was going to happen. You have to dish out $100,000 for a parking lot all of a sudden. I could understand not wanting to jackhammer out concrete or asphalt and
right.
add to that expense. So I don't know. It's just I get it. I'm not faulting the city or anything. It's just
Unfortunate.
yeah, it is. And I would hope that I don't know if there is something that we can do when situations like that arise. It sounds like staff and planning commission, everything already went through everything, but
maybe what we should put this on our agenda for February 7th is to seriously look at
We have a
categorizing
two-day
heritage
retreat.
trees in our community, because that's part of livability. When we take down these magnificent trees, that's not, to me, isn't acceptable.
We did have the tree arborists were come in a couple years ago and give us a big study on the lack of our trees in our city.
and that's what that's what I was thinking about too.
And if
And
they've identified the heritage trees as the ones that we need to try to protect.
Yeah.
we were cutting down 120-year-old trees, and then we
Put those into the development going, we have to tighten that up.
Save the old oak.
Well, and it will be replaced. Sounds like, as already mentioned, there are trees
it's not
replaced, but it's not a 100-year-old tree. I get it. But some of those old trees also are
Danger.
Some of us are
dangerous.
attached to those trees.
They cause accidents and other issues, so sometimes it happens. As mentioned, as Chris was mentioning, there was one of those, or maybe it was one of the two that caused an issue that the city had to resolve. So it's unfortunate. It'd be nice to.
Okay.
Push it through.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, though.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Ready, Ben, for your update, but I have to first read the calendar.
Here's the
The
calendar.
Planning Commission meeting on January 22nd, 7 PM. Saturday, February 7th, council retreat, Scappoose Middle School cafeteria at 9 a.m. City office is closed on Monday, the 16th. Work session at 6 p.m. on February 17th, followed by a city council meeting at 7 p.m. EDC meeting at noon on February 19th. Planning commission scheduled on February 26th at 7 p.m. And tentatively the 8 p.m. March 7th, 9 a.m. at Scappoose High School auditorium,
What's the ATM?
all town meeting.
Oh, okay.
City manager Ben Berger.
Thank you, Mayor Backus. I think we sent out an email. There's budget meetings coming up, budget trainings. If you're interested in attending those, let Carol, myself, or Susan know. There's kind of a unique one that being held by a certified auditor that I haven't attended that before. Might be interesting to hear when I think she's the finance director for Hood River as well. That League Oregon City's putting on. I don't have the date of that, but I just saw it today. If you have interest, let us know. We can get you signed up for that as well. Just a quick correction, I guess, from the comment earlier on in this meeting about the general fund, mentioning that it was in a $700,000 deficit right now. The report shows a $700,000 surplus. I just wanted to correct what is actually written in the general fund. I may have missed what she said, but that I heard that, and that's not accurate for where we are currently for the year. But we'll go with that. The rest of the comments will remain as standard. The update for CET, still working with CET, community partners, and Business Oregon to help get the ROI and the BRE programs grant over here, as well as some of that staffing. As we've gone through those discussions, been very positive and a good support from our community partners, as well as Business Oregon as being a reality that we should be able to figure out. I'm working also with St. Helens with their GROW program. Hopefully we can tie those two together to make a full-time position. So still in the works, but moving forward. I have a proposal to give Business Oregon tomorrow.
So you mentioned there'll be something other grant. Can you, what is the acronym for that?
The BRE is Business Retention and Expansion.
Thank you.
It's the process that Sierra and CET have been working on, where they did a lot of the community outreach and engagement activities, where they got a lot of stats to help our local businesses. They want to continue the second tier of that, to continue helping the businesses, the cities, including ourselves, and throughout the county, to get more data and information of how to best serve their businesses or help our businesses grow. So it's really good.
Is that a year contract? And if it is it a multi-year? And
Yeah, the ROI BRE grant through Business Oregon is a biannual. So it's a 2-year grant, and that there's 2 more stages that I can go through for that. So we have to apply in 2 more years, but it is a progressive grant. So it potentially could be another 6 years that we're working through some of that stuff. And then the GROW Oregon grant, I think, has 3 more years, including this, maybe 2. I need to get some specifics on that. That's not a guarantee. St. Helens holds that grant. It would be if they are willing to contract with us. Talking to John, their city manager, today, and in past conversations, is very accepting of that idea, because it helps us keep the ground working together. But he's going to be talking with his council about it tomorrow. And so we will see how that continues to evolve. Water, the well, still working on it. They should be getting going in the next week or 2. They're getting their equipment out here. They had to do some replacements and improvements on their equipment. But that should be out here within the next week or 2, so they can start drilling on that. And beyond that, any other questions on any of the updates or department reports? Questions about any?
Reading through the reports. Good job. Thank you.
If you don't take off immediately after me, I would like to chat with you just for a minute about CET related stuff. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we extend the meeting past 9 if needed.
Makes a motion to extend the meeting past 9 if needed. Any second?
I'll second.
Second by Council Marquis. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? try not to need that. Okay, Chief Llewellyn.
All right, the pressure's on. Good evening, Mayor, Council President, councilors, also people watching at home. For Scappoose Police Department, I'm super excited to have our 2 officers be graduating Base Academy next week, next Friday. They still have months of work to do, but hopefully by 2027, they'll be part of the new resources here to provide 24-hour in-person coverage. We have our community emergency response team meeting next Tuesday, which I'm excited about. I recently attended a fundraiser, spaghetti fundraiser, great spaghetti, by the way, to provide funds for the disaster warehouse that was depleted after they put some supplies up there in state of Washington. So it was great to be able to do that and promote our team there and stuff too as well. And last but not least, the U.S. Capitol Police and also Senator Ron Wyman. I reached out to our department to help provide for additional resource security for upcoming town hall this upcoming Saturday. We happily replied to provide that assistance for them. So we'll be out there this upcoming Saturday with our partner, St. Helens Police Department and the Columbia County. So people can go and.
That's at 11 o'clock, right?
Yes, sir, it is. To engage in the democratic process and express their First Amendment right. So besides that, if any questions, thank you. Thank you for your support. And that's all I have. 5 minutes to go.
Do you have any updates on the clock thing or not yet?
No, still not yet. Once I hear something, I'll let you know if it gets funding. So it's still stagnant. So I'll let you guys know when.
Clocks.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
One more quick update for the council. Over the weekend, there was a water leak. Just as a reminder, if there is anything off hours, there is a 24-hour line on our website you can get. It's the easiest way to get a hold. What it actually does, it goes to the non-emergency dispatch, and they will go down our call tree to get a hold of somebody if there is ever an emergency or water utility issues, or any utility issue really if it's an emergency. So for the public or for the council, if you ever need that, it is on our website, or you can just look up the non-emergency dispatch. They do that for us if it's off hours or on a holiday. So
Where does all of our technology kick in and send us a note right away that if there's a leak? I mean, how big does it have to be? With our meters are out there, I mean, we should be able to tell there's leaks, but I mean, big one. It's like a break. I mean, just something.
right, the technology is with meters. If it's a non-metered area, we don't know. It's usually by someone reporting that there's water leaking. This one actually ended up being a drinking fountain that somebody had wedged something in the spigot, and it just was shooting out. So they got that fixed or temporarily taken care of for now until they can get a permanent fix for it. But the staff actually proactively had taken care of that before we were able to get a hold of them. One of the staff members had saw that as he was driving by on his day off. Was like, oh, that shouldn't be there. So he stopped by and actually took care of it, which was great to hear. His proactive nature to solve an issue that he had noticed without being directed to was always good to see that stuff. So.
Thank you. Councilor Marquis?
I don't have much to offer. It's good to see you all and looking forward to really digging in for that retreat.
Great. Thank you. Councilor Howard?
Oh, and in the interest of getting out of here by 9, I've got nothing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councilor Holmes?
Nothing for me tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Santiago?
No, I'm good.
Great. Thank you. Council President Miller?
Just the format of the annual town meeting. Mayor, you and I kind of talked about that. Do we have a chance to talk to city manager and NJ about that? We talked to, and Joe and I talked to, Mayor and I talked to NJ, what was it, like 2 or 3 months ago, about a new concept that I've actually been asking for like the last 3 years. But just something that's a little bit more engaging and interesting, and hopefully makes people feel a little bit more like their time was well spent on a Saturday. So the concept was basically that just each department head would actually give an update about their department. That I don't know if NJ can make the PowerPoint or they want to make the PowerPoint, you know, in the same format. And basically it's just what their department does, who they are, what their department does, their staffing, what their goals were last year, what they accomplished last year, and what their goals are for this year. Basically like a 10-minute type of thing for department head, just so that it engages the public to know what their department, who the department heads are, what that department does. And especially if we have any intent of asking for money later, we really need to get that engagement.
I also would like a little bit more interactive with the with the crowd. We can encourage that. Maybe they can ask questions, maybe not have a microphone or pass down a question written down. Some people are shy. I mean, just more interactive. I would love to see that. Are we gonna have it hybrid? Like
Online.
online and in person? We did have it,
We record it and then put it online if we're speaking in the
but not live.
pub, possibly.
Right, for maybe the presentation. The rest of the ATM is pretty hard to hybrid. but
The presentation, would that be live or would that be just recorded?
It would depend on the resource we have. I don't know what the school has connection, but.
Probably recorded and put on the internet.
So can we come to a consensus on this? Is that, does council like that? Is that possible? I mean, I don't know that NJ isn't already working on it, but.
Yeah,
it
NJ's
is-
been working with Mattia and has had meetings with me, myself and Joe, and we will have continued meetings, so we go get closer to that.
Okay, but that sounds like something that's doable or,
Yeah, it shouldn't be
okay,
a big issue.
I'll make sure we work towards something like that.
that would be great. I think the public will get more out of that. And again, I really want to focus on more engagement with each of the departments so that there's that feeling, we get that engagement feeling from the public. I think that's critically important much ahead of time before we go and ask for money, if we decide to go and ask for any sort of supplemental funding in the future. Last thing I have, just really quick, still working with Lexpol's grant team to try to find grant money to replace the police department's radio equipment, because that stuff is about 6,500 to, depending on brand, 10,000 per radio, so it's a significant expense. But we are also working on trying to find a grant that will include all the other law enforcement agencies in the county too, if at all possible, because everybody needs new equipment. So, and I offered to fund that. Lexipol's grant team will actually find the grant, and they will write, they're the experts in it. They've had experience applying for these grants that usually come open annually, but they know what they're looking for. So I offered to fund that personally because I think it's really important. And
you.
hopefully we can get the rest of the law enforcement agencies squared away too
Thank you,
in the
Councilman.
county. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you. We need your